Three friends boarded Disney's Galactic Star Cruiser to seek their destiny and emerged as heroes of the Halcyon.
Right, sons, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Heroes of the Halcyon, the best, and to the best of our knowledge, only Galactic Star Cruiser Superfan podcast. I'm Galactic Star Cruiser Superfan Christine, and with me are
Superfan Martin
And Superfan Drew.
And I'm back.
You are. I'm sure people were starting to wonder if you existed anymore.
I know. I was starting to wonder that myself.
We have taken her out of carbon freeze.
Ooh, March was rough. Hello, April. And April also means that we are less than 30 days from Halcyon.
Yes, my gosh, our full Halcyon itineraries went live on Play Disney app, yesterday?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, super exciting.
So
yeah.
we now have assigned lightsaber training and bridge training.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we also continue to have people being super supportive of our Galactic Star Cruiser Super Fans Muster meetup. We've had a few more people volunteer to be their crafty amazingness and send us donations that we're going to be using for our Make-A-Wish.
I saw some of the stuff we posted on Instagram recently. I know our last episode with Ryan, we broadly hinted at what he'd be putting up. And now that people can see those kyber crystals that he made that are all themed after the drinks in Oga's and up on the bar on the Star Cruiser, it's just amazing.
I am going to win that auction.
See, we're going to have to make ground rules, Martin, because I just don't know if that's right, personally.
It all goes to charity.
For charity, the highest bidder wins.
Yeah, but we're very, very excited. We've got a lot of our details nailed down now. Again, we're going to Planet Hollywood. We're going to Stargazer's Lounge. We have our DJ Elliott. And yeah, we're just very, very excited to meet so many people in person that we've either talked to over Instagram or talked to during the podcast.
Yes.
And yeah, we're super stoked.
We just ordered the huge photo backdrop for the entrance. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're actually going to have a full size action figure card back for Galactic Star Cruiser at this event. It's absolutely, we're going all out for this one.
Yep, absolutely.
And before we get started with our regular episode this week, we do want to send out a shout out, as always, to our patrons at patreon.com/heroes of the Halcyon. Again, you guys really do help make this content possible, and we very much appreciate your support.
Well, for this week's episode, we had one of our favorite creators come into us with a fantastic idea. Christine, can you tell us all about it?
Yeah, it's really neat. We last weekend we got to spend time with Mars from That Corner in Coruscant and experienced that bounding in person, which he
looks spectacular.
Goodness. Yeah, he was like straight out of Batuu.
Oh yeah. And it's funny when I say he looks spectacular, I did count. I think I used the word spectacular in last week's episode about 70,000 times.
Oh,
but Mars really did look spectacular in his bounding. It was amazing.
Screen ready. He could walk onto the set of any Star Wars film, TV show, whatever, and look completely ready to go.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
And so the idea for this week's episode was really fascinating, is to how to take the interactivity from the Halcyon and kind of put it inside Black Spire Outpost on Batuu. It'd have to be in some kind of limited, introductory kind of format.
And there's a ton of different ways that we can take it, and we explore a lot of those in this episode.
Let's take it away with Mars from That Corner in Coruscant.
well, thanks for joining us, Mars. Long time no see.
Quite some time, if you're considering Batuu time.
That's true.
I think time runs slower in Batuu.
How many rotations has it been?
Yeah, it's been a few at least. Well, of which sun? I mean, come on, there's three. So how do they do that?
Too. Yeah.
How do they measure a day in Batuu? Now we got to figure that out. How have you been?
I'm good.
We saw you, was it about a week and a half ago?
Week and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw you in the fine world of Batuu West. Yay. So that was a real treat.
The cozier side of Batuu.
Right,
That's
exactly.
Right.
It was very cozy. It was especially nice because we were sitting down to our breakfast Ronto wraps, and I think we had just finished when you were able to join us. So that was a real treat.
Mars was walking up, but at a distance, I didn't, see it was Mars yet.
Right.
And I truly was like, whoa, they got a new, roaming character. And no, and Mars's bounding was so on point, so completely legit that, then he gets close and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's actually Mars.
So when you told me the story earlier, you said it like this. Oh, wow, they have a new walk around. Oh, that's just Mars.
It was stunning. I was actually surprised that bounding was allowed. It was so on point.
How long have you been dressing kind of in progressively more, I don't know, complex is maybe the wrong word, but in more Star Wars appropriate bounding outfits at Batuu West?
So I started off with basically anything that's olive green. I used to hate wearing green. I don't own any green, especially the olive green, the tans. Earth colors are not for me. Mm-hmm. I used to gravitate towards red, but then I don't do any Sith or dark side bounding at all. And then progressively after that, after my first visit to Galaxy's Edge, and then I started noticing like, oh, there's this Disney bounding thing. And then it just rabbit hole going to Star Wars bounding. And I'm like, whoa, there's more to this. And then the Droid Builders Club happened.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of just steamrolled into everything. And then I met Ryan, which is the person who started off the droid backpack thing. One of the person that started the droid backpack thing. He also dressed up as a droidsmith, but he wears, I think, 3 or 4 different colors of coveralls. He has like the one that he's known most is for the tan one that he wears. And then I asked him like, hey, can I copy some of your markings and everything and, create my own droidsmith version? And then I made that the Droid Depot marks. As I go along at the same time, I keep making more Greeblies, more reference, from Book of Boba Fett, from Mandalorian, all the live action reference start coming up. So this start coming out. Just keep adding more and more things unto myself. And I guess I modded myself.
That's awesome. Well, so you started just in the droid part and then you added the Greeblies. Was it when you went to the park, did you say, today I'm going to try to add this and maybe next time I'm going to try to add that? How did that progress?
So like if you progressively look from, let's say, November, which is my preparation for my Star Cruiser trip in January, and then comparing it to my droidsmith, at least for maybe the last 2 months,
okay,
it's already very different. Like it's already more polished. Mm-hmm. Like for one, the coverall that I brought to my Star Cruiser was the wrong one, which I realized the day of embarkation. I opened my suitcase, I looked at my coverall, and I went, Scott, I brought my wrong coverall.
It's amazing he'd still talk to you.
So I had that was on my actual first coverall. So it was a bit more baggy than usual. And then the leg part was a bit long, but then luckily my gaiters was able to hold it in together. Progressively, as it get colder, I started adding stuff to it because mine is a short sleeve. So I add thermal, but then if it looked, every time that I look at something in the mirror, I'm like, wait, that looks kind of off. So let me add something to balance it out. Because I'm an art major, I'm a graphic designer by trade. So everything I see is colors and shapes. So once I start noticing, okay, in the picture, like, taking a selfie is good for you to improve your costumes and bounding.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And another graphic design technique that I use is, this is what I use also when painting miniatures. Take a picture. So in this case, you take a selfie of yourself and then you use the black and white tool to make yourself black and white and play with the level. And if you see that all your stuff is just all gray, that means you need some extra accents on your costume.
That's
interesting.
Cool. To point it out. Yeah.
So have you actually ran into any kind of issues with Disney at any point with any kind of the elements of the, again, not cosplay, but it's bounding is really the specific term. Have you ever ran into any kind of because Batuu West is kind of known to be a little bit more stringent than Batuu East.
The first time that I actually got stopped by security, the first time ever, was 2 days before I met you guys. And it was, I'm not sure if this is a newer security guard, but he was an older gentleman. He saw me walk, he let me pass. And then after that, he took a second look and he's like, wait a second, can you stop for a minute? And then he had to pull out 2 leads. 2 leads looked at me in like less than a minute. And they're like, yeah, he's just bounding. And they actually complimented on my look. I don't have any hard armor on my body except for my toes. Mm-hmm. My face isn't covered. So I actually have a face mask that I use, but it has some Droid Depot marking as well. That might be a problem because only one of my eye will be open. If I have a cape or anything, I usually put it in my backpack first. Once they see like I'm not trying to copy a certain character, they know all the roaming characters in the park. And then I also emphasize that I don't try to play off as a cast member. I don't have a name tag that look like theirs.
Right.
And every time that someone asks for a picture, I make sure that there's a cast member nearby, and I ask them, "Is it okay for me to take pictures?" Like most of them will say, "Oh,
That's
you just met a new friend, right? Yeah,
Nice.
go take a picture with your friend." But yeah, the first time I was stopped was 2 days before I met you guys, and then the day that I met you guys with the bounty hunter bound, I had zero problem.
Just seeing the reaction that people had, I was joking, Martin. Obviously, when you saw it's just Mars, you didn't say that. Don't worry. But when other people saw Mars, they did see somebody in Star Wars, and you added some magic to their visit to Batuu. So I'm surprised that Disney has some sort of problem with the bounding. I mean, why are they being so capricious with what they would allow people to wear?
So one of the things that people don't realize. East and West, and the reason why West is a bit more stricter is because East is its own bubble. West is in Anaheim's bubble. So a lot of the rules that they can't go through is Anaheim police rules.
Interesting.
Not Disneyland rules. It's basically Disney does not want to be responsible, and the quality control of someone pretending to be a cast member, right? If someone's rude, let's say if I was rude to someone that day, they're going to think I'm a character from Disney.
Right.
And they're going to say, oh, that cast member was so rude. And they think that Disneyland is bad. And that's one of the things that we try to never push towards that side. It helps, I also try to do giveaways so that, and then I make sure they know that, like, I don't work here, but, if you want some stickers, here's some stickers. Hope you have a great day in Batuu. Mm-hmm. And then, I usually get stopped for restrooms, for directions. First thing that I always say is I don't work here. I even have to say it in Spanish sometimes. I don't work here, but if you still need help, I know where it is. But if you want to ask a cast member, there's a cast member 5 feet away. But fortunate enough, I'm fortunate enough that I've been able to keep pushing progressively how far I can take this bounding. The only problem that usually that they have is when you're too close to a character that they know. For example, you're too close to Rey. They sell Rey's products clothing in Batuu. And then if you have your hair looks like her, and then you wear her vest and all the gear, and then you have the boots, and if people mistake you as Rey, that's the big problem.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's actually kind of an interesting topic, is what are some of the things that we would advise people not to do? And that's perfect. If you're hewing too close to, I think the real designation here is if it's a named character. If you look like an Imperial officer, okay, that's getting dicey. But if you look like Kylo Ren, if you look like Rey, that's going to draw some attention you would not want. That's a great thing. And I think that covering your face is definitely,
they don't allow it.
A no, that will get you flagged instantly. I think that if someone ever was handing out, like Mars, you hand out stickers. I think handing out anything with your promotional contact information would get you flagged. Oh. And so if we were handing out Heroes of the Halcyon business cards in Batuu West, that would instantly get us flagged. Frankly, I think that would get us flagged at Batuu East as well.
Yeah,
but
I would think so.
You don't be that person. Don't, if you're handing out things, don't have the secret is don't have your contact information on it. That's blatant advertising. Don't do that. Is there anything else that the four of us can think about? Do not do. Don't carry something that's an obvious weapon.
If they do ask, most of the time I don't get asked my contact information. Usually they ask, do you have an Etsy store? And just say yes. And then I don't give out any business card. I have an NFC chip usually on my phone or my sticker case. So they can scan something. Or if they ask, do you have an Etsy store? Do you have an Instagram? Then you just give them or you just mention, tag me on Instagram, please. Mm-hmm. And my droid backpack usually has my Instagram ad on it.
Gotcha.
Interesting. So that's smart. That way you can have it if you need it, but you're not handing something to a takeaway item. That's interesting. But having a thing some people could scan where they're not walking away with it, That's interesting. I think that would be acceptable.
One thing that I just found out recently as well is characters can actually take gifts from you.
Oh, that's cool.
Whoa.
So even stormtroopers, they can take gifts from you, and then they just give it to their handlers.
So what kind of things have you tried to give to a character?
So a week before I met you guys, I was dressing up as the toned down version of the bounty hunter because I just finished my hat, the Batuu hat, and I wanted to take some pictures with it. I didn't have any ID. I have a Hondo Supply ID with me usually, but I didn't bring it that time because I just came from work. And then they do their normal lines with their gloves. They're like, "Can I see some identification?" And I'm like, "I didn't bring mine today." I was like, "But I wanted to see some identifications." And I was like, "You take credits?" And that was the time that I ran out of my coins because usually I have a few coins that I bring to give out to like PhotoPass or whatever. And then I was like, "Oh man, I got no coins." I was like, "Okay, fine, stickers." And then they're like, "Oh, these are not," like I forgot what the line was. It was one of the positive lines. And then, I mean, with their gloves and their eyesight, they try to grab it. And once they grab it, they give it to one of the people, the cast member that helped them.
Oh, that's great.
That's cool.
And then Fennec as well also grabbed some stickers, and then she puts it in her little belt.
Have you tried to give something to Mando yet?
Oh, I gave something to Grogu. I printed the shift knob. That was one of the first gifts that I give to, like, I guess a helmet or a covered face character.
So can you kind of share with us, since you're like the bounding expert, like you have elevated the art of Star Wars bounding in the parks to such a high level. Yeah. How does it help you interact with the characters and the cast when you're bounding?
I mean, you guys been to the Star Cruiser. If you wear something that is noticeable to them, or if you have a distinct characteristic of, if you have anything distinct, for me, for the droidsmith is this. Second would be my backpack. At night, you see the light. So if they see you have something, you wear a little bit like, I mean, who advertised being a rebel in Batuu, right? But if they do see it, they'll go straight to you and they'll ask you questions, or Vi will ask you for help. Ray, or even if you know the phrase, ignite the spark. Right? Just whisper to a cast member, ignite the spark. Most of the people on the market will be like, "Oh, we don't mess with that." But if you go towards the resistance side, it's different. So I think maybe add like 1 or 2 focus point on your bounding gear, and they'll notice you, and they know that you want to play.
What's been one of your favorite interactions with a cast member?
One of my favorite interaction was that when I give the gift to Grogu. That was super cute. I have it actually. My friend actually helped me tape it.
Cool.
It's on my Instagram. It was super cute. And then just finding out, cast members can take gifts in general. That was kind of cool. Some of the interactions with the regular Batuans are actually really, really cool because I don't know if you know this, each Batuan has their own backstory. And each one of them has a lore that they have to develop when they got transferred over to Batuu. So your space janitor could have, I don't know, maybe he has a debt to Oga and he used to live in Coruscant. You don't know. I would highly recommend talking to all the cast member and, see what, I mean, some of them really enjoy playing more than others. Some of the newer ones usually stumble a little bit, but I think one of my favorite interaction with the Batuan locals was I was hanging out and I was trying to, improve my improv. And then I saw 4 Batuan locals standing in front of the land speeder garage. And I just went to them and just say, rising moons, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as they found out that I was from Coruscant, they start ragging. All the bougie stuff and everything. I'm like, wait. I'm just from there. Like, I don't live there anymore. And then they start going like maybe 15 minutes and they completely out Star Wars me. Like, I have no idea what they're talking anymore. Like, they went beyond, like, galaxy far, far away.
That's all. I mean, that's the thing that we talk about all the time is that, when you're on Star Cruiser, you're focused so much on the actual characters, the actors. And if you take the time to actually talk to somebody on the crew, You'd be amazed at how much fun it is to talk to them too.
Oh yeah.
Like, one of the things that you have to remember, each one of them is called cast member.
Right.
And when they clock in, they go on stage. So they're on 24/7 as long as they're working.
One of the questions that I have found just personally that helps kind of unlock, how much each cast member kind of wants to get into, this conversation is, my conversation starter is, are you native to Batuu? And if they are, they'll tell you where they were born. If they're not, they'll tell you where they came from and how long they've been there. And it's just a great conversation starter that kind of gives them an in to just info dump as much as they want. I'll listen to everything they have to say.
Sure.
But yeah, are you native to Batuu? Is if you don't know what to ask, start there.
And I mean, there's also another side of that coin. I've spoken to some cast members that they don't go in character, like fully. Like they would say, oh yeah, it's pretty hot because there's, triple suns or whatever. But, they would mention, for example, Amazon instead of HoloNet, all the lingo, like the earthly lingos. They would just say it, like a normal Terran person.
So the interaction I need to know a little bit more about, Mars, if you're able to tell us, is one of the photos that you were able to take the day that we saw you. You had some time to yourself, and you posted a picture on Instagram very shortly after that was with you, R2-D2, and Ray,
Vi.
Yeah.
So how
and Chewbacca, I think, was there
was
too.
Chewbacca in
No,
that
it was just 3.
Oh.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So
four would be impossible.
So how did that photo come about?
So the first time I took a photo over with you guys at the Falcon, some of my solo photos, I didn't really like it. So I wanted to redo it, like some solo photos. And I knew it was the photographer that I knew, cast member Byron. He's a really good photographer, and I've known his angles and stuff. So I know that I want to take some pictures with him. So I came back and lined up. As I was lining up, on the right corner of my eye, I see Vi up top. I don't know if you've noticed that ledge up top to the right of the Falcon.
Yeah.
And then I wave at Vi, and then Vi saw me, and then she went like, stay there, like wait over there.
That's cool.
But right when I was just waiting for her, another photographer that I went to take pictures with prior to waiting for Byron, we took like 40 pictures in 5 minutes. She was so happy to see a bounder that she wanted to take pictures, and she just grabbed me from all the way from Droid Depot, and she took me all the way back to the Echelon and then to the Falcon. 40 pictures, 5 minutes.
Nice.
And then so when I was waiting in line for Byron, Vi did that, and she grabbed me. She's like, I want to take some more pictures with you. So she took me to the extended queue for Falcon on the right side. Now, if you know where characters shows up from, to the big gate on the right, it's technically their spawn point. So I told her, hey, I'm waiting for Vi because Vi told me to wait by the Falcon line. She's like, don't worry. If she comes down, she's coming down from here. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we can take pictures around here. When Vi comes out, do you mind taking a picture with her? Because what they can't do, PhotoPass cast member cannot take picture with someone, with a character specifically waiting for them.
Okay.
You have to be by chance. If you walk past, if they photobomb you, and they'll do it. So as I was waiting for Vi, and suddenly I heard Ray's voice first, and it was the Ray that I already met several times. And she recognizes me. She was like, "Oh, you look different today." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not working for Droid Depot today. I'm just doing a little bit of bounty hunting because Moob was not paying me enough." And then she was like, "Oh, that's great." And then as I was about to take picture with her, a holoscan with her, suddenly I hear R2's beeping. And I'm like, oh, wow, he's here too. And then suddenly, and then I turn around, Vi was there. I'm like, can you please hurry up and take a picture for me?
That's great.
It's truly one of the best Galaxy's Edge photos I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Ever.
Yeah.
It was cast member Alicia. She's so good at it. Like, she was just snap, 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 snap. I'm like, oh my God.
You had to know when that was happening that was going to look amazing.
Yeah.
Just having 3 at once, it's miraculous.
Yeah.
Like,
and R2, I mean, the number of people that get photos with R2 is really small. R2, I think, is one of the harder ones to get.
yeah, because he's usually by the Falcon gated area. And then he moves up towards the docking bay, but by that time he's super overly crowded and he goes back down.
So with all the bounding you've done and all the interaction that you've had with several of the cast and crew that are there, I'm guessing that's where this idea that you posted on Instagram came from, to create even more interaction and more immersion with the characters. So tell us a little bit more about how this idea came to be.
After all the interactions, like usually my interaction is mostly candid, right? I see a character, I just walk up to them. I usually just, because they're usually a lot of kids and I don't want to take their time off of
Right.
their fun. So I usually just walk by the perimeter. Most of the time I can position myself that the character themselves can see me. So by having something distinctive, they'll see me, or some of them might already know my face. And then they start interacting with me. Mm-hmm. And then everyone just kind of dispersed because they think another character is trying to talk to them. I started thinking like, wait, if you're in the Star Cruiser, you're already paying money to do that. And the entry point is, let's say if you're going 2 people on the highest season, it would be about $5,200 to $5,600. Like the entry point to your ante to play the game is already up that high. Mm-hmm. Like, and technically you are getting interaction with characters, except you're in a spaceship and you have a room to sleep at the night. Why not have something like that with a lower entry point? Because we already have VIP tours or tour of Mainland Street or tour of, Mainland Street. Main Street.
I like Mainland Street. I think we need to have that now. Yeah.
And the tour of Walt's apartment, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And that's like $150 to $200. And it's about 2 to 3 hours of tour. Sometimes you get either a drink or food at the end of it. What if we have something like that and you start off with a Batuu and local and you leave in groups of maybe 5 to 10 at max?
Okay.
Everybody pays about $150 to $200 for a 3 hours experience. But during those times, you'll get recruited by certain characters, a la the ticketed price of like Star Wars Night, where they have character meet and greet. You know, you get 5 minute. So within the span of that 3 hours, you have into like an isolated space where you actually meet this person, because like, for example, Rey's not going to recruit you out in the open in front of Falcon when troopers walk by. Mm-hmm. So maybe that extended area over there, the Batuu and local is trying to give you a tour of like, oh yeah, this is where we store blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, the hero of the Resistance is here. And then she could go like, hey, I need some help. Very Wraith like, right? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind. I go to Batuu at least twice a month, Batuu West. I don't think I mind paying, $150 per visit if they have different paths to follow, right? $150 per path probably for 3 hours of immersion. But at the same time, the caveat to that is I would be allowed to wear something more than just a bound. And that way, one, Disney actually gets a paying customer to become their roaming characters, mm-hmm. while they were being babysit by a cast member. So they're not going to pretend that they're cast member, but they're allowed to, like if you see a group of people with partial Mando armor walking around in a big group of like 5 to 10 with a Batuu and local, you're going to think something's up. Yeah. Like for me, when I'm walking with 2 other droidsmiths, they're going to ignore the cast member that dressed like a local in front of me and talk to me instead. Yep. Mm-hmm. I think it's a win-win situation for them. I don't know about City Code and whatever else. Disney will get a paying customer to become their roaming characters, that what they promised when they build the park. 2, the customers or us gets to play and gets a little taste of the bunny slope that, if the Black Diamond is Star Cruiser with that high price point.
I think this is fascinating, and let's kind of tear this idea apart. And how could Disney implement this? What would the challenges be? Because I think there's something here, and really, when I first was thinking about this, I was like, I just came up with a bunch of why this wouldn't work. But Mars, I think that the way you've kind of structured this is that it would be kind of under the umbrella of a tour. And you're not just left to your own devices. A cast member would be there the whole time to moderate what the group is doing. That this doesn't seem unfeasible to me. I mean, like Mars, one of the ideas you had was smart is, if you wanted to put a value add on this, you could get the lightning lane for both of the 2 Star Wars rides. Boom. Okay. That adds instant value to people. But I mean, I've taken the Disney tours at Disneyland and I've never done a single one that I didn't feel like I got my money's worth.
Sure.
I love them. I love them.
And you get a special Batuu pin instead of Halcyon pin.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I mean, let's kind of talk about, okay, so you're with a Batuu local, which is just the most beautiful framing. And they're going to take you on an ecological and historical tour of Black Spire Outpost. Forget all of the let's not forget it. Let's just table it for a second. I would pay $150 to just have a cast member walk me around Black Spire Outpost and tell me the history in detail.
Yeah, you would need interactivity at that point. You're just getting a tour of Batuu from a local.
I would pay that outright. But again, to make this something that I would do twice and 3 times and 4 times, this interaction piece that Mars you've come up with, how would they do this? Because if you have to kind of cross paths with say Ray or Vi, how would they make it a private enough moment where you could get the communication need without being surrounded by other paying customers that aren't on the tour?
Right.
How would you separate that?
You'd have to gate some of those experiences maybe behind closed doors. I mean, it doesn't literally have to be closed doors, but maybe some gated off area where people can see and want to know.
The big gate that's behind the spawn point that I took a picture with 3 characters, that's the extended queue. And the back of that is a bunch of containers.
Okay.
There's rumors that I can't confirm that said that they're going to add that as the dine-in side of Oga. Because after the pandemic was sort of over, like the COVID restriction, they never used that area anymore. You can enter through that gate to that extended queue of Falcon, and it's still in universe because you're still within like cargo space and everything.
Right.
And then have the meet and greet over there. And then I think the only way that it will work is, one, if the mission that they're given through the data pad specifically would have to go through the rides, like how Star Cruiser is.
Sure.
Technically, they're not splitting up and roaming in the market, because definitely we cannot do one Batuu and local and go, okay, 10 of you, this is the market. If you need to do something, you have 10 minutes of shopping time.
Right.
But that's hurting cats. So they have to have the mission within a ride.
Well, and I think that's doable. I think that if you sat people down and sat them down, stood them up, whatever, gathered them around and laid down the ground rules that, folks, we're a unit during this. I think I don't think you'd get much pushback.
No, not at all. People would come with you. And if you if you have it as a tour, people would be inclined to join anyway. And the other thing you could do is, and Mars, you talk a little bit about some of this and your ideas will come to them, but if you're in the experience and you do the tour and then you see the marketplace and you go behind closed doors, and then Vi comes and talks and says, well, now I'm going to need some of you. I need 3 volunteers that are, maybe they split the party up a little bit and some people go with Vi, some people stay with Batuu and local, or maybe Vi says, I have something of eager importance. Who is interested in helping the resistance? And several people raise their hand and they say, okay, I'm going to need you guys. And then maybe the resistance folks follow Vi for a period of time. Maybe similarly, a first order officer comes in and says, yeah, I've heard about you guys. There's been rumors, or I need some of you to help join the first order. Who's with me?
Well, I actually was thinking about just this very thing is I would actually like to see the first order be a completely separate tour.
Yeah, that's where it's going. So instead of you picking, they pick what path that you go depending on how you interact, and it's the Star Cruiser. You pick what tour you want to be.
Okay.
That you want to be. Like, for example, you get a tour from a Batuu and local or from a lieutenant of the first order.
And you'd hear completely different things about the same locations, about the same circumstances. You see it completely. I would pay instantly to take both of those tours. I can't get this out of my head now. What it would be like to have a first order officer walking me around Batuu and telling me about that rabble rouser over there and that troublemaker over there, and we had to that'd be amazing.
That would be amazing.
You get different pins.
Different pins.
Yeah.
It's all about the merch.
Because we're suckers for that.
Well, and I, because that's the one thing that I think that Star Cruiser is light on, is first order interactivity, and a ton of people love it.
Sure.
They love what's there. And if there was an ability to like do a personal meet and greet with Kylo for a minute or two or something, people would flip. People would absolutely flip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of all the other spaces in Galaxy's Edge where they could pull off these little moments.
Maybe they can utilize that space the
entry
east,
port.
they use that space. Yeah, the port to go to Star Cruiser. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it open before. It's a big gap. Like, it goes to the back end of Batuu. But if they spare probably about, I don't know, 30, 40 feet of it, and then just make it look more instead of just like the back door to Batuu.
Oh, Mars, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and for the First Order, you could have the stormtroopers standing guard, and not that they're going to stop anybody, like they're guarding the cargo hold, but if they're standing up and there's people talking behind, maybe they can gate some of it to a degree that way, and that's interesting. So if you had a First Order and a Batuuan local, would you have a Resistance tour as well?
I would pay
that
for.
That would be hard for the Resistance because they're dressed differently.
Okay.
Right. And then militaristically, if the First Order see someone dressed like the Resistance fighter, they'll know right away.
Sure.
That's why the Stormtrooper never goes all the way to Resistance base.
Which that could be kind of fun to actually have your tour guide or your Resistance tour guide actively have to like, guys, duck, stay back, because I think that would be a super cool interaction to like have your guide say, everyone stop, and just kind of like give hand signals that, for our listeners, you can't see Martin's making like secret hand signals to say like stop and hold and whatnot. I think that I would absolutely love to get that from a tour guide that says, we're in danger, stop, fake danger. Of course, there'd never be any real element of danger.
Right. Well,
or one of the Batuuan could be a middleman for bounty hunters,
So
Mandalorian.
now we have a scoundrel path.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's something else that I would love to see happen is the Batuu Bounty Hunters game that they've recently put in. I think it's an admirable effort. I think that it's missing something. Is there any way to actually include Magic Band Plus in this kind of tour experience in some meaningful way? Because to me, again, the Bounty Hunter, it's a cool idea. I don't love the implementation. I don't love that it doesn't lead to anything if you finish. But is there any way that we could implement Magic Band Plus technology to kind of give that another reason to exist, which I'm sure Disney would be super interested in?
Well, of course. I mean, so you've got it's not two-way, but you've got more capabilities with the Magic Band to know, to sense where it's at and to provide some sort of feedback to you in the terms of lights. I'll confess, I don't know. I haven't used the Magic Bands. Mars, does it make noise when you get, or is it just a light?
It doesn't make noise. The thing that makes noise when you bounty hunt is the door itself.
Okay. But it's lighting up and it's letting you know when you're close and so on and so forth. So, but there's no reason it couldn't, each of the paths could have a section. Does anybody have their data bands? I mean, I don't know if they call them a different piece of technology, but for those of you who are on it, you guys can participate in this extra. For the First Order, maybe they're doing a reverse bounty hunter. They're looking for Resistance base or an office or
what they need to add. I think right now the next step for a bounty hunting game is how to spend the credits that you earn from it.
Sure.
That's a huge piece that's missing.
Yeah.
Because there is an achievement in the the data pad, where the achievement is called bankrupt. You have to go minus in credits. Right now, you just go up and there's no way to spend it. I mean, there's one that you have to buy something, but it's only like 50 credits. But by the time you finish the whole bounty hunt game, you get like about 20,000 to 40,000.
That's interesting, though, that achievement is there. So they had plans for it or have future plans for it.
Sure.
Well, actually, there is one way that you can lose credits, and it's a way that you can hack into certain devices, and you can it's a chance that for the rest of the day or until someone else hacks it in the same way, you can get credits every time someone scans it. I forget what the actual achievement is called. It's called it's hacking a panel or something, but there's always the chance that it's going to take away credits. So it's kind of like you're rolling the dice. So, but again, you'd have to lose so many unbelievable times to go negative that it's almost
you're not going to go negative.
It's impossible. So Mars, that's a really good point. Is that they have an achievement that if you don't unlock it really, really early on, there's no way to do that. That's a super good point.
So I think that there's another path that we really need to focus on that would be critical to Batuu. And that is how to become a pirate. And a live action Hondo would actually recruit you as a pirate and then walk you through Batuu and show you, this person, owes me money, or don't talk to that guy because I owe him money, or here's how we sneak around and we can steal things from, not really steal, but, how we can obtain things from other people, and here's how we get the coaxium by getting on this, the ship, and live action Hondo now, please.
This works for so many different factions. Again, you mentioned bounty hunters, Mars, and I mean, think about they could absolutely implement several different types of bounty. I mean, IG droid walking around might be difficult.
Yeah.
Could they do that as a static, standing thing with limited articulation? Yeah, they could. But I mean, like a Trandoshan they can do, a Mandalorian bounty hunter they could absolutely do. There's a lot of things, but pirates, that's a whole different thing that they haven't even touched. And we know for a fact, they've shown it before in public at the grand opening, they have a live action Hondo. They've got it. It exists. And he talks and it sounds beautiful. So let's see this. Why is that not walking around the park like all the time?
I think before they add Hondo, I'm going to call it now, and then you guys can make fun of me later. So at Celebration, I have a feeling they're going to announce a new roaming character over at Batuu.
Interesting.
This is just my prediction. It's going to be Bo-Katan.
Oh.
Interesting.
Well, with the current series,
they will definitely add Bo-Katan first before Hondo. Because Hondo, technically right now, everyone that knows Hondo is one, who is this guy talking by the Falcon before we go in? Or two, yes, I've seen the animated series. He's pretty cool, but he's kind of sleazy. And I've never even heard about the live action Hondo before.
Yeah, they actually at one of the grand opening press events, they had a live action Hondo, and it looked magnificent.
When you say you mean the makeup for the?
It wasn't animatronic. It was a human in makeup. Yeah. And again, I mean, I watched it several times to see, I mean, is he just recording? Because it sounded just like Jim Cummings. Like it sounded perfect. And I was asking myself, is this guy just mouthing pre-recorded dialogue by Jim Cummings, or do they have some kind of, or is he just mimicking the voice himself or what? But it was just spectacular. I mean, you've seen it, Christine.
Yes.
I mean, there's no amount of money that I wouldn't pay. I would forego a housing payment.
I mean, they can't kick you out right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Please adult responsibly.
Plug your ears, bank.
But let's think about this. So obviously, First Order, a Batuu local, Resistance, Bounty Hunter, Pirate. Is there anyone else that kind of fits elegantly into this?
I have one.
I have one.
Oh.
Well, Mars, I want to hear yours first.
Come on, I'm a droidsmith. If they want to sell more products, get more droidsmith roaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Have they defined Mubo? Does Mubo have a look?
Mubo, yeah, Mubo there's a keychain for Mubo. I have a keychain.
Nice. And
Mubo, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, sorry if I'm mistaken, Mubo is a she.
Oh.
And she has this very squeaky voice. But apparently she's a mean boss.
the mean bosses are dime a dozen in Black Spire.
Seems like it.
I mean, you gotta be mean to be a boss.
A droid, that's beautiful. Drew, what's your idea?
Well, they got to have Saja in Batuu, don't they?
Oh,
See,
Exactly.
doesn't that-
Like
that would
Bunny
be
Slope for the
amazing.
Star Cruiser.
Yeah, of course.
that would be amazing.
I mean, okay, at the end of the Rise of Resistance ride, and you crash onto that big whatever ship that it was, and then there's some scrappers.
Mhm.
Did you guys know that that was Savi?
I actually heard that from my friend Mars when I was there last time. Yes.
Like, why not have a scrapper character walking around?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, they need to have a representation of each character of the 7 shops.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
For the Toydarian, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to be a Roman character. It could be an animatronic puppet. Because one, the technology is already there because they do it over at Monsters Inc., where there's an animatronic with cameras so they see who is in front of them,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they make fun of the person in front of them.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny, Mars. That is such a great observation, because we actually talked about this on the drive home our last visit to Disneyland. Is like, what kind of character could they do? Because you look at like the Universal Studios, and they've got Donkey from the Shrek movies, doing the live, playing with people. There's a camera, there's a person there, and we were kind of asking ourselves, how could they do something like that with Star Wars and a Toydarian? A Toydarian is perfect for this.
And they're already doing it with Crush Turtle
Yeah.
Talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
They could have it on a screen. That's even cheaper than animatronics.
Yeah, and it's not even a super common. Sure, they got the fluttering wings and stuff, but it's not an
Use
incredibly.
the same technology as they have in Rey and Rise of Resistance. The hologram. Have a Toydarian.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I would love to get heckled by a Toydarian. I would love that. Who
They're
would?
probably just asking for more credits.
Probably.
I'd give them. Just keep talking. Because
I want to see who Katsaka is, right? Who's Katsaka? Like, the popcorn is really good.
Do we know the race of that character?
I don't.
Yeah.
I hear they're a Redenbacherist. I'm sorry. I'm really ashamed that I just said that, guys. I'm sorry.
An article came out this week from a past Imagineer talking about one of the concepts that got cut that apparently was like 2 years into development. And that was a full-size creature that was going to be walking around Galaxy's Edge that actually was going to carry people. Like, it was going to carry, I believe it was 60.
It was a Bantha ride, right?
It wasn't a Bantha, but it was akin to a Bantha.
Okay.
But it was, it was either going to carry 6 or 8 people, but it was going to be something that could interact. They actually said it could like lick a person in front of it, and like it actually said that it could eat their cotton candy or whatever. And I'm like, wow, that's weird. And like, how they make that?
Police is probably like, nope, you're not doing that.
Yeah, but the designs were beautiful, and again, it was very Bantha-esque. Without being a Bantha, the name kind of eludes me right now. But there's a great article about it, several websites. But if you buy the Art of Galaxy's Edge book, the hardcover book, there's a section on it, and there are a couple pages about this. But what a fascinating concept to kind of, if you were going to introduce a tour, if you could have some like walking creature that would like parade you around, and again, you'd need an additional revenue stream to justify that cost. Well, or could they actually charge people just separately, pay $20 to get carted around by this thing for 10 minutes? Could they do that? I mean, I think that would sell all day long.
Sure.
What kid wouldn't want their parent to put them on this thing and ride them around?
Kid.
Yeah, trust you, me, Christine. I'm right there with you on that one. But who wouldn't pay? Like, how would you pay? $30, $40? What would you pay to get on a full-size animatronic creature to parade you around Galaxy's Edge? That's kind of...
And you're not going to get flagged by PETA, too.
Right. Exactly. Nobody gets in trouble.
I mean, if anyone out there really wants to kind of have a fun deep dive into Galaxy's Edge, that Art of Galaxy's Edge hardback book is sensational.
They're just back in stock in West right now, and I'm thinking of getting it.
I think let's go back to something you said just a moment again, Drew, and let's kind of pass it around the four of us. Is the Saja in Galaxy's Edge? Why is that not a thing? Like, I understand why they can't have Luke Skywalker. There's the whole eras thing that I think they're figuring out how far they can go. But you can put Asajj on the ground. It looks distinctive enough where people will absolutely ooh and ah. They've got a place for them right inside Savi's. They've got the tree right there that is full of Sajja ornamentation. Let's get Asajj on the ground
Have
there.
Asajj meditate by the tree, and that's just their station. Think of it like like a yoga instructor that just sits there by the tree. Every time that you have some questions, and then you just ask them, and then answer whatever guide you to the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an idea for a Sajja final mission in Batuu. If we're talking about timeline, what if the mission for the Sajja mission, for example, like the I guess the Force mission in Batuu would ended up helping Rey to go onto the Halcyon and inform her that the holocron is up there.
That's really good. Yes, that would be fabulous.
So timeline wise, we would be helping her to go up, and then we go back down to fulfill the holocron mission.
That's true. We have no idea how those things really connected. So yeah, that's right. That's wide open. That's a great idea.
Oh yeah, there's tons of opportunity there to join the two, since the whole experience is taking place on the second day of the voyage. So you're, just to keep the timeline straight. That's the tricky part about Keevan coming at the end and saying, "Come help me" or "Come join us." Keevan can talk about coming aboard the Star Cruiser, obviously, but that's the tricky part, is since it's all that day, right?
That's true. So you'd have to, in universe, they'd have to figure that out. But I think that would be a real interesting upsell opportunity.
It's real easy. Captain Keevan can be, "Hello, I'm here on a very pre-recorded message," and that's good.
But I love
this.
Mark,
the scoundrel mission. Maybe we'll find out why Hondo and Wraith has a beef.
Oh, he knows why.
He knows what he did.
We don't, right? We just know that they have a beef.
All right, so we've been talking about this idea that Mars had about implementing like tours that have got interactivity,
which I love. I think that they need to do this tomorrow.
Seriously, like who do we have to get him in front of?
Yeah,
take my money.
Yeah,
exactly.
We'll go in there with our money and just put it. Here we go. But let's kind of troubleshoot this real quick. What could go wrong? Like is there any reason why this couldn't or wouldn't work without making a specific change? What are the hiccups that someone at Disney could possibly raise an objection to?
I think people tagging on the tour.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Part of the tour.
Yeah. But there's ways they can solve that.
Sure.
Well, how can they solve it in your mind?
Well, I mean, even whenever we did our tours, we've done one in Disneyland and we've done one in Disney World, is that if you have people that are kind of like hanging on, the tour guides are very good about turning to those people and being like, this is part of a tour, and if you're interested, here's what you need to do, that kind of thing. I'm not sure how you would do that in universe.
The same exact way.
Yeah.
Truly, I wouldn't overcomplicate this. I would do it in the exact, because when we go on real life tours, like we go to Rome, we go to Peru, we go to these places, and we've done these tours, and the tour guides have got to do the exact same. I've been on a mountain in Morocco, and people were trying to hang on to my tour group, and the guide had to say, "Hey, you're off. You keep it together."
Well, in Morocco, he was able to shoot the guy. So, I
mean, too true. But I think let's not overcomplicate it. It's a valid point, but I think that don't overcomplicate it. Just simply say, "Hey, this is a tour, or this is a secret group, or whatever." And just handle it.
Was there a second handler? Or was it just one tour guide?
Usually there's two.
Okay, so the second person.
The bigger the group, sometimes they might have three.
Gotcha. So if the second person could be you got the main tour guide, and then you got the fixer. The bruiser. Right.
the fixer. I love it. Yeah. All right, so I think that it's a legitimate concern, but I think that's surmountable. Mm-hmm. So what else can we kind of think of that could be an issue here?
What can you think of, Mars?
Alcohol. You have to be sober to do it, because they're gonna want to. Let's say they're gonna want to tour the cantina, right?
Sure.
Limit the amount of drinks, because alcohol makes people do stupid ththings.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's, again, would they want Ogres to be a component to this? Sure. But limiting it to one drink, to me, I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a problem at all, but that's a very legitimate concern. You got to keep people straight or yeah, problems ensue. What else can we think of?
Can we put an age restriction on it?
Could Disney put an age restriction on
I
it?
don't know.
Probably not.
Can they
Probably
do?
not,
Yeah.
because the kids love R2 and they love Ray. Like all the Resistance character, the kids really love them.
I mean, could
They have even special activities for kids with those characters.
Yeah.
that's why I almost want there to be one tour a day that's exclusively
Specific.
for kids.
Yeah.
That way,
Well, and their parents, obviously.
and the
Yeah,
parents,
yeah,
of
sure.
course. But if you had one a day that was like
Come with me,
exclusively,
children.
The child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang. You know?
Yeah, but like a family-friendly tour
Sure,
or
sure.
something like that.
Yeah, I think again that would kind of guide. It wouldn't take all the kids away from all, but it would at least guide the youngest ones. I think away.
If Lieutenant Harmon Croy can handle 108 kids in one voyage, but two Batuu locals can handle it.
Yeah.
So I think that's legit. I don't think that Disney could hard enforce. I don't think they could get away with it.
You have to be this tall to go on the tour. I mean, would that work? I think that
Well, I
might
mean,
work.
technically, if you are doing missions on a ride, you have to be 42 inches.
There you go.
What else? I would love it again, like Mars said, if you could buy a button at the end, or should be given a button at the end of this as some achievement. And if they had different, if they had a smuggler one and they had a pirate one and a bounty hunter one, great. Collect and trade these pins, man.
And then locals like me would go all the paths 5 times
Yep.
Completely.
just for those pins.
Yep.
And again, the locations and the patter for the characters would be different, but each of the tours would share some of the same organizational DNA.
Sure.
From a management standpoint, from an actual implementation standpoint. So I think that's doable. So what else can we think of? Let's think of one more thing that would be a challenge that they would have to overcome.
So they have to make this, instead of how Star Cruiser is being basically a sandbox. You come in, as soon as you walk in that door, the atrium, that's it. You're in a sandbox. Instead of doing that in Batuu, you have to make it linear.
Sure.
You have to railroad it because it's way too open. They can go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agree. That's kind of interesting that you wouldn't be giving individuals missions, you'd be giving the group missions.
Right.
And again, they could all follow along on their pads or whatever. That's an interesting observation. I agree with you completely, Mars, that this is you have to herd the cats.
And then just to make it even more fun, let's say if there's 4 groups, the same way that they do the bridge training, the blue bantha, the white, whatever, split it into different groups. And then you show scores of how each group did that day.
Oh,
Have like a little data pad that shows, okay, this is the group that went before you and this is their score.
put a little element of competition in there.
Yeah, people love that.
Oh, let me tell you, my enjoyment of Smuggler's Run skyrocketed when I really figured out the game, and it is a game, and how to really make it work. My enjoyment of that ride just skyrocketed because now I look at the boards and I see the competition, and I'm like, I want that high score. Yeah, wow, that's a great idea. Add a little bit of something for people to chase. Well, this has been fantastic, and I am absolutely livid right now that it's not a real thing.
Well, Mars, what are you going to do next? What's your next bounding idea that people will see you as at the Disneyland in Batuu West?
So the next big one for me, that week of May 2nd, 4th, and 7th, I'm going to be busy. So May 2nd, I have my the Star Wars Day, and I have the night tickets, the After Dark tickets. For May 4th, I have the day ticket, and I have a couple of people that does the Ferrex Friday hashtag over on Instagram. Some of them are coming down, so I'm going to meet up with them. So on that day, I'll be dressed up as Mars the Droidsmith. But on May 2nd, for day and night, I'll be dressed up more as a bounty hunter, but slightly a little different than what I wore because the weather has changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hotter, hopefully, because it's been too windy here. On May 7th, we actually have an event so this is the first event where the Droidsmith Union is going to be involved in something, I guess, Disney related. It's called the Disneyana Expo or something like Fan Expo.
Okay.
Disneyana Fan Expo. We were graciously given a booth to work with Galaxy's Edge Explorers, Bobby and Nadia. So we're going to share a booth with them, and we're going to, the droidsmiths will display their droids, show how to customize. We can sell whatever we want. And then the Galaxy's Edge Explorer also shows the other side. And then I believe they managed to invite some of the 501st to show their costume as well. So
Nice.
Awesome.
they're going to show, I guess, the bigger costume group. And while we're going to show like the droidsmith stuff, that's my big one. That's my next big carrot that I have to achieve.
Nice.
Because as much as I love the droidsmith, I can't be wearing this forever.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Like, I talked to
An unknown
You
person.
talked to someone.
I talked to someone, and ideas started churning that we know that the Halcyon is a Groundhog Day effect.
Mhm.
So since Mars wasn't able to complete his service tickets, he got fired from Bubo. So he's going to come back and return because he has no job. He has to do bounty hunting. So it's going to look a lot more gritty. He's going to be the bounty hunter. And he's also going to be a detective trying to figure out why is there a Groundhog Day effect.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh.
That's great. That's
Very
nice.
cool.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for this conversation. I think the tour idea is gold. There's so many practical applications of it. I can't see why they wouldn't be able to put this in play.
Yeah. Tomorrow.
Yeah. It's a lot of shower thoughts, obviously. Lots of lack of sleep from making greeblies, and a copious amount of black calves.
There you go.
Nice. Good deal. Well, the next time you have a black calf, have it on us. We'll figure out a way to send you the credits.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow, what a fantastic new way to think about Batuu.
Yeah, they could do this tomorrow. That tour idea of Mars is brilliant.
And they could completely introduce this idea in stages.
Yeah.
I mean, start it with the Batuu Locals Tour. If it works, if it sells, First Order Tour, Smuggler Tour, Pirate Tour, they could go on and on.
Yeah.
Fantastic idea.
And I know we talked a lot about the tech, and that would be cool, but they don't need it. I mean, if they just did the tour by itself and included lightning lanes for both rides, this is easily a $150, $200 idea for a couple hours of time. How many people would do that?
I would do it every time I was there.
Yeah.
I mean, truly. And every time you had a different tour guide, I'm sure you get a slightly different presentation of it, just like you do on the standard tours.
Yep.
Slam dunk idea for Disney. Who do we have to talk to make that happen?
Well, if anybody else has any other ideas that they want to talk about, we love talking about Batuu. We're enjoying talking, obviously, about Galactic Star Cruiser since we are the heroes of the Halcyon. But if people wanted to send us more of those ideas, how would they do so, Christine?
Please send all of your ideas to heroesofthehalcyon@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us and find us on Instagram at Heroes of the Halcyon, on Twitter at Halcyon_heroes, on YouTube at Heroes of the Halcyon, and on Patreon at patreon.com/Heroes of the Halcyon.
Well, the Halcyon always needs heroes, so thanks for tuning in for another episode. It's always fun to shoot the poodoo with all the Star Cruiser superfans out there. So until next episode, it's our honor. Let's raise our glasses with the Halcyon toast. Tabuite!